Okay, we have a demonstration for you today that's going to help explain the wastewater treatment process on a much smaller level, but you'll be able to see how the solids are separated out. So we have two containers here. I know this may look like wastewater, but really it's just dirt from my backyard and some water. So we have a couple different containers here. The first one here, we are going to just leave it as is, and you can compare it to the other container that we're going to actually treat with some chemical. So you can see by looking here, there's a layer of dirt all around the bottom. So these are the heavier particles, and this would be similar to the primary clarification or the secondary clarification process, where we just have the solids and the water in a big settling tank, and the heavy solids go to the bottom. At the wastewater treatment plant, we would pull this out and then put it into our solids dewatering process or take it to the compost facility. Okay, now with this container, we're going to do what would be in the the tertiary treatment process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a chemical. Now this is alum. This is something that can be bought at the grocery store, but it's aluminum sulfate. And this is a chemical very similar to the chemical that we add at the wastewater treatment process. So I'm going to add it in there, and then I'm going to stir it around to make sure it really starts to take effect here. Now, if you remember in the wastewater treatment video, there was that portion at the end where we were talking about throwing marbles through a chain link fence. Now, this alum is the glue that we talked about there. This is a chemical that will interact with those smaller particles and help glue them together, bind them together, so that they become heavier and they may drop out. Or when we start to put them through a filter, they're now bigger, so they can't make it through the filter. So this is going to be the start of the tertiary treatment process, where we clean up those last particles that maybe have made it through the clarification part of the process. Okay, so we're giving this alum a little bit of time to work. It may take a few minutes, but you can already start to see up near the top here, there's a very distinct separation here. Now what that means is that those particles are starting to bind together and they're really starting to separate and go down. So what we'll do, we'll maybe give this a few more minutes to really start to take effect, and then we'll start our filtration process. So the next start of the process while this is going to be putting it through a filter. Now, at the treatment plant, we use sand filters. They're called anthracite filters. Anthracite is really just sand. So, what I've done here is I've taken a coffee filter, which is a regular coffee filter, and I've taken sand from my front yard. So we're going to use this as our sand filter. I'm going to put a strainer on top, and then I'm going to put my coffee filter with my sand on top of it like so. Okay. So now once I pour the water through there, it's going to act just like a sand filter does at our wastewater treatment plant. Okay. So we have some better separation here between the different solids, and I think this is going to be good enough. So what we're going to do is try to just pour the top part where there aren't as many big solids in, and we're going to pour those. Oh, sure. So if we take a look and compare the two, can definitely see the difference here. Now, this is with alum, and then we look at our original container that didn't have the alum. You can see the alum has really made a difference in separating out those solids and cleaning the water that's near the top of the container. Okay, so now we're going to take our container with alum, and we're going to pour it through the sand filter. Now what we should see here is that the water that's coming out of the filter is going to be much cleaner than our first two containers. Now the sand filter is also a good example of how the dirt underneath the surface cleans the recycled water that we use in the recharge basin. So like I mentioned, we can put recycled water into a recharge basin, Sorry, don't mind that. That's just my dog drinking water over there. We can put recycled water into a recharge basin, and then it seeps down through the dirt, and by the time it reaches the groundwater aquifer below, we actually have new drinking water supply that we can use. So I'll pour some more of our alum and wastewater mixture there so we can see some more of it coming through. Now obviously it takes a little while to get through all of that sand and then the coffee filter as well, but you can already see that the water that's coming out at the bottom is much cleaner than it originally started. It's still not clear, so I still wouldn't drink this water, but again, recycled water is not drinking water. We could definitely use this water to water plants or to use it for some of the other uses that we talk about in the videos. So that's a quick representation of what happens here at the wastewater treatment process. We have the clarification where the solids settle down to the bottom. We introduce the chemical where it really separates out those solids and cleans the water a little bit better. And then we have the filtration process where we get a nice clean water, remove most of the harmful contaminants that are in the water, and we can then use that recycled water to help the environment. So I hope this was helpful for everybody. Hope you learned something. Thanks for enjoying the video.